Well, hello, everyone. I'm Jill Bloom, Group Publisher of Roofing Contractor, and welcome to our Best of Success podcast show. We have a special panel discussion today with key leaders in the roofing industry, and we will be discussing safety with our subcontractors, younger people on the job site, and also making sure your subcontractors are being safe and how to do that. I'm honored to have everyone here and would like to have each of you introduce yourselves. Sam, let's start with you.
Sure. Sam Stilley from Houston, Texas, owner of Amstel Roofing. We've been here since 1974.
Very nice. And Tammy?
Hi, I'm Tammy Clark. I am an industrial hygienist and an occupational and environmental health and safety professional. I specialize in the construction industry and have been working with roofing contractors for many years.
Very nice. Trent?
Hi, I'm Trent Cotney. I'm a partner and construction team leader at Adams and Reese and also serve as NRCA General Counsel.
And Steve Little?
Hi, and I'm really glad to be here with this prestigious panel. My name is Steve Little. I'm the head coach at K-Post Roofing and Waterproofing, also the CEO of National Roofing Partners and involved with many industry councils.
Well, thank you all of you again for joining me today. Trent, I'd like to start with you. Let's kind of set the scene. You know, when we're talking about these, we've talked about these issues before. You and I have done some podcasts and videos in regards to ethics and some of the child labor. But is there a way, how can you put this into context for everybody listening?
Sure. And I think we start with the general background of, lack of skilled labor in construction, not just roofing, has
Sure.
been historically the biggest problem. So one of the issues that we're always trying to figure out is how do we incorporate more people, train more people, get more people into the industry. And one of the things that we're seeing, which I think is a positive step, is a lot of states are saying, look, what we can do is we can allow, older teens to participate in training in the equivalent of apprenticeship-like programs to, get them in construction and roofing. And, I've started to see this in several states already. Arkansas and Ohio already have laws on the books. Florida has one that's pending right now. And the idea behind it is, legally bring on, these older teens that can start learning the craft, understand safety, be able to do everything under strict supervision. But it gives them an opportunity to go ahead and learn real world skills. And, I've said this time and time, Jill, you and I have talked about this many times. The people that can do things with their hands are going to be truly valuable, right? And they've always been valuable, but we're, in an age of artificial intelligence and everything else, those skills are becoming even more coveted. So a lot of teens out there want to start learning real world crafts now, understand that this is, a craft like any other construction trade. And I think that if we can embrace that with the right parameters, the right safety guidelines, the right, legal guidelines, then it's a great way to get people interested in the industry and help grow our labor force.
Yeah, most definitely. We have, I think that there's a lot of kids, as we've talked about, all of us, that they may not see college as their path, and they're excited to get going and get working. And so this is, an industry that needs the workforce as well. Let's talk about Amstel Roofing and what do you guys, what are you seeing in Houston, and how do you guys handle even selling against some of, let's say it's on the immigration side, some of the companies that might not be really legal, but what do you do and how do you sell yourself from Amstel Roofing and a safety perspective?
Sure. I think that our in-home selling that we do all comes with how we sell the value of choosing a trusted contractor that's going to do things properly. And we sell big on the fact of, hey, we understand that our project's going to cost more, but it's going to be done right. And you're working with a business that's going to be here for another 50 years. And the illegal crews or teams that are selling jobs for, 30, 40% less that don't have the overhead, we make clients aware of the fact that although price may be appealing, the risk associated with working with such said crew or organization brings risk to themselves and their home. In the event someone got hurt on their property, they could be liable as the homeowner on that property as well and be a part of a lawsuit, which is a huge risk that no one should ever even take. And a lot of homeowners are unaware that they can be sued in the event that someone gets hurt on their property and doesn't have proper insurance in place. So for us, we have an actual sheet that talks about things to be aware of as part of our in-home presentation when selecting a contractor of their choosing, what to look for and what to be alert, a red flag. And we set that as part of our sales pitch to where it almost sets landmines behind us in the event that another contractor does come and is doing things the wrong way and using unskilled workforce or illegal teams, or it is a illegal immigrant with their own crew, to where if they say certain things, it triggers that homeowner to be aware of a red flag. This is a company or person I should not use, and I do need to use a reputable company such as Amstel. And that helps justify those prices as well too, because we operate on a much larger level with overhead that those individuals don't have to accrue or handle. And obviously, if a homeowner is uneducated, the only thing they can see is the massive price difference.
Got it. And so just for clarity, Sam, you guys are primarily residential roofing, correct?
That's correct. Yes.
And now, do you use subs at your company?
Yes. So our installation force is comprised of subcontractors. Our repair technicians are in-house and subcontracted. Just depends on the volume of work, but our install teams are subcontracted.
And so I think some of the concern that we were even discussing when McKay Daniels, who's the from NRCA, was on stage, there were a lot of contractors in the audience that use subs, and there was a concern that you don't always know who's on your roof and how do you keep them safe. And so how do you guys handle that?
Sure. I think with our subs that we use, we have a guideline that we say before they come to work with us, of items that we require that our subs have to do on projects. Now, we don't manage them on the day-to-day because that would make them directly an employee, but we do have expectations so that they can maintain a certain amount of jobs that we provide for them. And because of that, when setting expectations for the subcontractors, they know exactly if they're going to work for us, what's required on projects. And we haven't had any issues with that. We also have agreements that's sent over to them in advance. Typically, we invite them to come to our office. We interview them, vet them, ask them tons of questions to make sure that they're going to be a good fit for our organization, because they're a representation of our brand. We don't believe in just hiring anyone to do our projects, because if they do a bad job or if they're unprofessional, then it directly affects our company brand as a whole. So we have a compliance form they actually sign, and that compliance form talks about best practices and how they need to follow the guidelines that are set forth by the government for safety, insurances that are required that we also vet to make sure are legitimate, not ghost policies I'm sure that most people are familiar with, as well as a stipulation of being aware of, hey, there are certain age requirements that are required to be for installers. Your team has to meet or exceed this, because we're not going to allow for any child labor to take place on our job sites. Now, we've been very blessed with our subcontracted teams that we work with. We give them the majority of their work, and they do a fantastic job for the several teams that we have. So we haven't run into any hiccups like we're discussing today with red flags. But we believe by having these requirements in place in advance, it weeds out 90% of the subs that come through our doors because they know they can't meet the requirements that we're expecting of a subcontracted team.
Well, it's always great to see how people are setting things up so you know you're keeping your people safe, and it reflects very well on the industry. Steve, I'd like to ask you this kind of the same questions. Now, you at K-Post, you guys have a residential division as well as a commercial division. How are you set up with these issues at K-Post?
Joe, thanks for that question. We, on the commercial side of the business, 85% of our work is done by our own workforce. We go through the I-9 process for verification for the work. It is vetted by two manager employees of our company. And we've actually been through 2 I-9 audits where we're very early in our career of the company. We were about 3 years in and had an I-9 audit to where we had to let 25% of the workforce go, but we had no fines in the audit. And I thought we even had a presentation that best success on this because we had done all the proper processes in place, having 2 employees, management employees, look at it, picture IDs, all the proper paperwork filled out accordingly. The second I-9 audit that we had, we only had this was 25% of our employees at the time. It was about 50 employees we had to let go. I think it was 47. We now have 430 employees in our company. We had an I-9 audit 2 years ago, and 7 people had to be let go in the process. Again, no fines because we have the process covered as well. On the residential side of our business, it's a separately owned organization. And Keith and I own the commercial side, and Pam, my wife, and I own the residential side. It's a subcontracting driven world. 100% of the work is done by subcontractors. Much like Sam's business, we have 2 employees that are actually employees of our company that do the maintenance and repair side of the business. But we do use subcontractors on the install side of the business. And those subcontractors are required to give us picture IDs of each of the employees that they have that will be on their organization. They're required to have insurance as well. And how they pay their employees, we don't have anything to do with that side of it. We do give an awful lot of business to 4 of the subs that we have on the residential side of the business. We use one exclusively on the Tesla roof and Powerwall installation. But we have our own electrical contracting company that supports that side of the business. The other 3 that are on the non-solar side of it, I don't know what percentage of business we are to their particular business. They all sign contracts. They're all required to have insurance, and they're all required to present photo IDs of all the employees they have in all of their companies.
Very nice. And so tell me about the NRCA programs that you're involved with that help also just with safety and some of the programs and apprenticeships that you're involved with.
Well, I'm fortunate to be on the Workforce Development Committee for the NRCA. And they have a very strong initiative that starts with track training, online training for employees to onboard them to the company, goes all the way through to them working with the ABC, Associated Building and Contractors, as well as NCCER, which is a governing body for education and training, to create a apprenticeship program that actually was launched 2 years ago as a beta program, and in 2023 was rolled out to 5,000 trade schools. The NRCA, the governing body of our organization, is very much has the initiative of bringing in quality workforce into our industry, and it is supported by all of the 72 affiliate associations, whether it be Western States or it be Florida or it be Chicago or NERCA or Midwest. I mean, these are the larger groups. California, these 6 organizations are the larger affiliate associations, but there are 66 other associations like ARCAT here in Texas that support this initiative. There is not a affiliate that is promoting not using legal adult workers in our marketplace. There have been many, I shouldn't say many, there's been a few situations that have transpired that the media have gotten a hold of to where they label our industry as promoting illegal or child labor workers in our workforce. And that is clearly incorrect to anything that any of us contractors out here are promoting. I think Sam is spot on that any industry is going to have people that try to beat the system, beat regulatory, beat pricing. In the residential industry, at least here in Texas, we've had a situation to where contractors were trying to pay for the deductible, and our Texas has now prohibited that. There's laws against that from happening. The legitimate contractors, roofers or other subcontractors in the marketplace, are providing legitimate business to protect and mitigate the risk of our customers, whether it be on the commercial side or it be on the residential side. And to that, it creates an overhead. And when you create an overhead, it creates additional cost. And that cost is passed through to our clients, as well as sometimes we eat that cost as contractors because of the type of jobs we may want and however it affects our business.
Yeah, great insight, Steve. There's no doubt. There's so many great things happening in this industry that we are doing in regards to safety. But do you feel like you're selling safety more today than you were in the past? How does that look at K-Post?
It depends if it's actually no. Safety never depends on anything. Our crews on the residential side tie off. That is not a common practice in the residential business across the country. And it costs us more money to do that. But the OSHA regulation says if you're over 6 feet, you have to follow certain safety guidelines. And so all the way to our residential division on working on our clients' homes, or if it's a commercial division that we're working on the corporate homes of employees, safety is preeminent on, or excuse me, is predominant on everything we do. I don't know
Yeah.
a contractor that doesn't have safety as the number one item in their operational side of their business.
Yeah. Well,
Sam,
it is
do
great
you
to be
agree? Sam, you agree?
Oh, 100%. I mean, everything you said is spot on. And I think that there is a cheap way of doing things, and then there's the safe way of doing things. And we tell homeowners and our crews and our employees that work here, it's always better to be safe in every situation, especially with the fact that all it takes is falling 6 feet to literally die. And no roof or violating any safety hazard is worth any amount of money that there is, because in Houston, there was another company maybe about a year ago, just a job site inspector slipped off a roof and impaled himself on an iron fence. And there's just so many dangers that come in this industry, and it's stupid not to abide by safety regulations.
I'm sure Tammy and Trent have statistics of where roofing sits in the United States as a dangerous business.
It's the number four from what I recall, fourth most dangerous occupation.
Yeah, and falls are actually the number one cause of fatalities in the construction industry. And everything you guys do, I tell all the roofing contractors I work with, everything you guys do is considered imminent danger. One slip, one fall, and there's a fatality.
Yeah. So Tammy, how do this is always a challenge with everybody across the industry, making sure, like Steve was saying, that they always tie off. Tell us or share with the industry, how do you start with contractors by making sure no matter what, this is how you work that into their program? And I know you've done a lot with this, so I'll let you fill everybody in.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I do work with a lot of roofing contractors, and the challenges are regional. If you're working in Chicago, it's very rare that you see people, or more of an urban area. It's very rare that you see people not using safety protocols. And then if you're working out, in the middle of, Utah, Wyoming, Montana, it's hard to get people to follow the rules because it is kind of the Wild West, right? And there's not a lot of regulators. And so a lot of it's regional, and then a lot of it too comes down to vetting processes. So just like Sam was saying, it's really important when you're working with subcontractors to get the compliance that you need to vet them in the beginning. So safety is not difficult, but it is strategic. You have to be very proactive and preventive, and this comes down to pre-construction. So the pre-con meetings, the pre-construction vetting process is so critical. And when I'm working with a client or maybe a new client, that's one of the things I look at first is what is your vetting process for your subs? And then what is your management process? Because like Sam said, we don't manage our subs. We're not out there every day managing them. But at the same time, if you are not ensuring compliance, you have to put the responsibility on them to tell you how they're going to work safely. It's their responsibility. At the same time, you have to make sure that they're doing it. So when you're running sub crews, you have to look at it no differently than how your general contractors manage you. Right? They're the controlling contractor and you're their trade contractor. So when you have a second or third tiered sub, you have to manage them in the same capacity, which means if you show up to go look at the job and they're doing something wrong, improper, incorrect, unsafe, you have to deal with it, and you have to require them to provide you with proof of corrective action within 24 hours. You want that document that you addressed it and that you provided, or they provided you with, the proof of abatement, which is your documentation. If something ever goes wrong, that you're doing your due diligence. And if they continue, you need to have a fine system in place, just like your GCs do with you, withhold part of their retainage, or, however you want to apply that to them. And then if they continue, then you need to let them go. Even if, I've had contractors say, but they're my best performer. And I've had to tell them, you need to look at them as your biggest liability, because it's just a matter of time before something happens, and you're going to end up owning that as well. So there is a process to it, but it all comes down to the pre-construction side of things, the proactive planning, vetting, and then proper managing of the subs. And like Sam said, you don't want to own them. You don't want them to be your employees, but you still have to require compliance. And then after a while, they will know what to expect from you, and you won't see as much non-compliance.
Great insight. And so Trent, back to you from a legal perspective, what's the first step that any contractor listening that they need to have in place from a legal perspective to set up to make sure that they're in compliance and when they're dealing with their subcontractors?
Sure. Well, look, you guys are speaking my language. You know, how many times have I said the party with the best paper wins the day when it comes to compliance or any kind of dispute? You know, the issues that we've raised today, Sam and Steve really just hit it on the head. It's the roofing contractors that have great operational capacity, that have great quality control, that are ensuring that their subs are doing what they're supposed to do, not just from a workmanship standpoint, but that they don't have, miners that are on the roof that shouldn't be on there, that safety is being followed, that all those key things, that are paramount, not just to getting the job done, but to maintaining a good and professional reputation. That's one of the things, participating and belonging to associations that we're constantly advocating for is professionalism within the roofing industry. And part of this is, it's not just about making money, it's about ensuring that from top to bottom, that there is a culture of safety, right? That we're ensuring that we are doing everything that we can to keep everyone safe and to make sure that we're abiding by the laws, not just for ourselves, but for others that are out there. So part of what I want to do and what I encourage, a lot of contractors to do is to make sure that there's a robust subcontractor checklist that you go through and you obtain everything from, onboarding information to the insurance policies, the certificates of insurance, their safety program, all that kind of stuff. So you have an understanding of who you're dealing with. If it's a new sub that you haven't dealt with in the past, make sure that you're getting some recommendations and references so that you know that this crew is capable of doing it, and make sure that your quality control people, regardless of whether it's a superintendent or whatever it is, that you may hire internally, is out there monitoring until you've got a better comfort level. Obviously, safety programs are incredibly important when you're dealing with subs. That top-down approach is critical. You don't want to go out there and have them necessarily using your gear, but you do want to make sure that if you see a problem, that you're using the contract as a means to enforce that safety, whether it's through back charges, set-offs, whatever it might be. Really believe that part of that subcontractor checklist is getting that master subcontract agreement executed and signed, and know that you've got those protections, not just from a safety perspective, but identification, the other key things that you would need to push liabilities down on subs that are just bad actors, right? And it's sometimes, despite best efforts, bad things happen. So, my goal from a legal perspective is to help mitigate risk. And the best thing that you can do is really use this time at the end of the year and the beginning of next year, when things hopefully are a little bit quieter, to think about, what do you have internally? What safety procedures do you have internally? How do your contracts look? How do your employee manuals look? All those kind of key things that become an afterthought when you get real busy. Now is the time to really reflect on that and figure out, what can you do to buttress your existing systems?
Hey, Jill.
Yeah.
The clients have a responsibility here as well to hold us accountable to what's going on. I love what Sam said in the very beginning, that they lay out for their clients exactly what the pitfalls are of doing business in our industry, and that his company has set a standard to do the right thing to mitigate the risk for the client. The client has to decide what that value is worth. So this, as we look into all of the pimples that we have in our industry, or any industry has, it also reflects back to the client on what responsibility they're willing to take to hold all of us accountable. The NRCA has set up a program called Pro Certification, and it's about the quality of the install that goes in. And the Pro Certification goes to the worker, the actual foreman or the crew, not necessarily the company. So it raises the tide in our industry. We need to have the same type of certification in safety, so that we can set the standard in safety as we're setting the standard in install. I'm not advocating for any of the associations to spend more dollars, but I think this issue that's come out from the media of trying to paint our industry as a bunch of child worker abuse programs, safety abuse programs. Look at all the bad stuff that happens. we are 98% really good people and really good industry that protects the one of the food, water, and shelter deals. We got shelter. I mean, come on, folks. We make sure that you have a place to live, that your companies have a place to house you, and that you have an opportunity for a productive life. And we get slammed and labeled with this BS that's out there that's not true. So I want to also challenge not just us as an industry, but I want to challenge the clients, the homeowners that Sam and our residential team deal with, the industrial asset managers, to go out here and set a standard for the type of companies you want to do business with. Ask for our I-9s. Ask for our copies of our picture IDs. Ask for copies of our safety certifications that we have, that we've all been an opportunity to be able to be involved with the Midwest Roofing Contractors Association Safety Awards, or the safety standards that are put out there with our mod rates, the things that come back from our insurance companies, like Texas Mutual, that K-Post happens to be in the top 1% of the entire country of safety rated companies that are in the place. And I'm not minimizing Sam's contribution to the state of Texas. Look at what he's doing to educate the client to make sure that everybody lives up to a standard of safety that's there. So part of the responsibility that's out here is with the client as well.
I want to add to that real quick. I just want to add one thing to that. That is a great point. And that is one thing that I tell all of my clients is you need to educate your clients, because your clients don't know anything about your industry. And the last thing they want is a fatality on their property. So they have to own this as well. And OSHA will consider them, there are companies that have been fined for not allowing safe procedures, scaffolding to be set up properly. They said, we don't want to deal with that because we have customers. And the client, the contractor should have told them, we have to follow the law. We don't have a choice. We have to do this. It's going to cost a little more. You may have to block off this door, but they went along with it. They did what the client wanted. There ended up being a fatality, and OSHA actually charged the store as well for that on their property. So it's up to us to educate our clients and let them know their role as well.
Well, I think that that's so important. And, that's something that Trent and I will continue that conversation from our legal insights as to what do all contractors need to be handing those clients as well. And Sam, it sounds like you got some great literature that you do that as well. And I'm sure, Steve, you guys have something similar. So it'll be fun to kind of collect all those and make those available for everybody listening. And Tammy, I'm sure you've got something in your binder of great content that you teach all your safe as you go through safety with all of your roofing contractors.
This looks like a great format for a best success presentation, by the way.
Yeah, most definitely.
Yeah.
Everybody here has been on stage before, so you understand exactly what we like to deliver and the authenticity of what we like to deliver at Best of Success. So I guess as we close out, is there anybody that wants to share any last comments? I think we may be good with everything we've covered. So thank you all for joining me today. And I want to say, if anybody has any questions for us, please reach out to roofingcontractor.com. And while you're there, make sure you sign up for all our free content, especially our e-newsletter, our website. Follow us on all of our social media channels so you can stay up to date on all the great interviews we're doing, especially this fabulous panel today. But most importantly, stay safe and healthy, and we can't wait to talk to you soon. Thanks again, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.